Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Teacher Talk with Doc Rocker. I, as always, am your host, Russ Downey, and with me, as always, is Danton of Doc Rocker Music.
Yo, what's up, everybody?
And we have a guest today with us for the first time, and this is a first for us on the show. We have a non-music teacher as our guest today. So please, everybody, welcome Joe Adamski. He's a middle school teacher, and he's going to be our guest for today.
Yes, hello everyone, and thank you for joining our podcast there, Russell.
Okay.
Yeah, we'd like to welcome our guest Russ Downey to our show.
Yep, first time ever.
Every week.
I've been kicked out. That's what happened here. Because I don't know, he called me.
Oh, jeez.
Well, one of the things we're going to be doing today, and this is our second part 2 of our segment Bits on Pieces. Our first part was back around the turn of the year when we wound up having an episode coming out on Christmas Time is Here from the Charlie Brown Christmas special. Although it wasn't titled Bits on Pieces, this is our first one under the title, but it will be part 2. So
This is the first official Bits on Pieces, but there will be many more to come.
So Bits on Pieces, just as a general idea so everybody knows, is basically a series for the Teacher Talk with Doc Rocker brand, where we have a show where we basically take a piece of music or several pieces of music and kind of dissect what's there that can be used to teach, whether it be used for teaching lessons or teaching ensembles or teaching music theory, or in the case of today, teaching something a little bit more generalized emotional having to do with music and what it can give to those who are watching a movie, reading a book, watching television show, anything like that. And especially what you'll find today, playing a video game too. So Joe, I know one of the reasons that we decided to do this was that you recently had created a lesson that used music, but as a means of teaching tone and mood in conjunction with talking about literature. So did you want to explain a little bit about that?
Yeah, so and before I go ahead and explain all that, so my name is Joe Adamski. I am a middle school 6th, 7th, and 8th grade reading intervention teacher. And so my main objective is to kind of facilitate like bolstering up the extra skills that have areas of need. So the lessons that I was doing was what's the word for it, where
Maybe supplemental?
yeah, they're more so supplemental. So I take a look at the lessons that the other teachers are doing. I noticed that there was a topic on tone coming up this past week. So what I did was and this was a lesson that was inspired just by one of the countless conversations that Russell and I always have talking, just because I'm low key kind of like a big old music nerd myself. I may not have like the education, but I really enjoy good music. I really enjoy a good story. And when those two things come in conjunction with each other, it's just fire, you know? So what I ended up realizing was the best way that I can kind of like show my 6th graders tone and kind of like get it across to them, instead of just telling them, oh yeah, tone is just how a character says something, or the word choice that the author chooses is, you can pick up on tone there. So what I ended up doing was I said, you know what, let's play some music. Let's try and identify the tone that's being set with the emotions that could be felt or identified with the particular piece of music. So what I ended up doing was I pre-selected, was it 4? Yeah, I believe it was either 3 or 4 songs. And one of them each of them had like a very strong emotion that was attached to each piece. So the first one that I showed them or had them listen to was a song from Crusader Kings 3, and I picked a bunch of like video game music. So it was just a way to kind of like get the kids that, you know, weren't really into my lessons previously, because I know they're like the boys, that because they're not interested in reading, they're not interested in like
Middle school boys are a whole separate particular audience in their own
yeah
right.
So I had to find a way to hook them somehow,
Really sell it
yeah
to them.
So
Yeah, to really get them hooked.
a bunch of them have like Fortnite like icons on their Google Meet screen, or like they're just really into video games. So I'm just like, you know what, I'm gonna do it.
Play with that.
Yeah. So
why not?
I picked a Crusader Kings 3 song. I believe it is called The Crusade Begins. I picked a Star Wars song, and it was
Nice.
the song from Empire Strikes Back where they're going through the asteroid field.
Nice.
And then the third one, and we'll talk more about this one because this is the piece that I'm choosing to showcase, is the death scene of Sniper Wolf from Metal Gear Solid. And so I basically just introduced the lesson, said, hey, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to identify the tone of each of these songs. Tell me an emotion that you can identify with this piece or an emotion that you feel when you listen to this piece. So we listened to the Crusader Kings 3 one. If you've never heard it, it's just like a wall of like choir, like choral sound, brass, percussion. It's like a song that every time I hear it, I just like, yeah, let's go, pumped up. Like it's because like I don't know if either of you have played Crusader Kings 3, but it's one of those side tangent here. Love this game. It is a it is a grand strategy medieval map game, and you play in the medieval era. That's all I really need to talk about it to get Russell's attention, because I talk to him about it all the time.
And I'm sure that's all anyone needs to hear to get invested in something like that. It's a really popular
It's
genre.
actually kind of funny too, because the majority of music that you typically see in games based off of medieval eras is really nothing to do with the kind of music that was actually prevalent at that time, which I find very interesting. It usually sounds something more like what their idea of what it would sound like with modern instruments and modern instrumentation.
Yeah, it's like a very like 19th century, 20th century romanticization of
exactly.
that. Which and that's subject for a whole separate segment of teacher
God, I would
talk.
love to
Honestly,
talk
we
about
could bring
that.
on music historians or scholars or teachers and talk more about that, and like kind of, because you could draw the same lines
Oh,
in
yeah.
film
Oh,
too.
definitely.
Thinking of something as big as like the Lord of the Rings. Like definitely if we're trying to like really equate that time period of Middle Earth to like historical Middle Ages and Renaissance period stuff, the music is so vastly off the mark from what it should
Absolutely.
be. But that, but yeah, but anyway, that's neither here nor there for today. So anyway,
Well, what I did want to talk about before we get started, kind of showcasing some examples, is just the general idea of, music being used to help teach tone, as Joe was saying. And this is something we don't always get much of a chance to talk about here on the channel, because we're usually more into the talking about music through the lens of music itself, through its, vernacular and terminology.
more of the
And
nuts and bolts kind of stuff.
exactly. And one of the things that's really nice is the idea of getting to see what music can actually do by enhancing another medium, or by being able to teach parallels across mediums, which is something we don't always get a chance to talk about, but is really rather prevalent in a whole bunch of different forms of media in everybody's everyday life. And that's really kind of cool. And that's why I'm glad you had this idea, Joe, because I thought it was going to be really cool to talk about,
Yeah, and
I'm excited to jump in on this.
It was a real fun lesson to teach, and I think it really hammered the idea home with the kids, because when we finally read the story that I was intending to teach them and have the close read for, they were like, oh yeah, no, this character, I can tell she's feeling very frustrated and upset just because of what the author is saying. The author said she crammed the last box in the car. She slammed the door. She feels frustrated. I was just like, teacher moment.
They get they get it. And sometimes you just need a little help from another subject area to really drive that home.
Absolutely, yeah.
And may I add, for those of you who are music teachers out there, this is one of those advocacy areas that you should definitely think about talking about in your schools as well, as to why music's so important for an education.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes, do it. Do it.
Perfect. That's good.
You gotta sneak in that sheet
already. This
somewhere.
episode is going to be rife with Star Wars quotes.
I'm not gonna, as a matter of fact, I'm probably the one instigating half of them. So
listen, don't underestimate the power of music.
I'm not going to. But
it has the high ground.
Oh God.
All right, let's get started, shall we?
Russell, would you say you have a bad feeling about this?
No, not yet, but give me time. I'm sure I'll find a few quotes. Not telling you the odds.
Which leads to the dark side.
I got my poster above me here, so he'll be keeping watch over top of me. All right. So
Anyway.
before we further descend into absolute memery and madness, Joe, do you want to go ahead and introduce our first clip, since you are the guest and you're up first today?
Yes. So as I was alluding to previously, the scene where Sniper Wolf dies in Metal Gear Solid is one that is so profoundly powerful with its emotionality. A lot of the enemies that you face in Metal Gear Solid are either one-off battles or they just kind of like survive. And what kind of made this interaction between two characters, or like the player and the character in question, so powerful was I think when Hideo Kojima wrote this character, he wanted her to have like a very, not even so much like an antagonistic kind of like feel to her, even
Maybe
if
like
she
a
totally does.
sympathetic kind of, yeah,
Yeah,
almost maybe like
she's
a
she's
sympathetic
an
character.
incredibly sympathetic character. So when you're first introduced to her, all you know is she's just a crackpot sniper. And when you first face her, you've already kind of developed a relationship with a companion character named Meryl. She's the daughter of your commanding officer for your mission. And what ends up happening is Meryl gets shot in the leg and is being used as bait by Sniper Wolf to draw you out. And Meryl is on the ground. She's saying, please, I can't reach my gun. I know what she's doing. Don't move. I'm going to, remove myself from the equation. And Snake's like, no, that's not how we do things. So already your emotions are at a high. You have to backtrack to a different location to pick up your sniper rifle just so you can, return fire. You come back, Meryl's gone, but the boss fight still ensues. You fight Sniper Wolf, you move forward thinking that she's gone. It's a little too easy, and then she ambushes you when you get too close. And she starts taunting you. Throughout the game, she's taunting you. All throughout every section, she's calling you up on your codec saying, hey, I see you. I have a bullet with your name on it. There's a little heart right on it for you. And you're just like, all right, this character's really interesting. So then you go through and you meet up with her again, and you have an epic sniper boss battle again in a snowy field, and you finally defeat her. And Snake approaches her in a cutscene, and she starts talking about how she doesn't have much time left because she's lung shot. She tells Snake about her childhood, how she was hunted like a dog. Every day she would wake up, a family or friend would be dead beside her, and the person who took her away from all of that was Snake's father, Big Boss. And so that's kind of like the real connection between these two characters, both of them. Snake never really had a relationship with Big Boss outside of, him being his teacher. And so what really makes it powerful is there's another companion character. His name is Otacon, and he ends up falling in love with Sniper Wolf because she's the only person at the base who is actually really, truly nice to him. And so Otacon is there to witness her death. And it's just, with everything that happened, the story, the world building with Sniper Wolf, the emotionality of like your attachment to these characters, and the musical score, it hammers it home. And Russell, I actually did look this up last night. I can tell you that the original soundtrack was composed by a group of people. Most of the original music was composed by the Konami Computer Entertainment sound team, but the main theme and the end theme was it was right here, I had it, composed by a Japanese composer named Tapi Iwase. So I think that was the name that you told me to look out for. So
Gotcha.
so that's composer Tapi Iwase.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. So I have the video queued up. First, we're going to watch it without any audio.
And just
and then-
captions, right?
Yeah, it'll be captioned and all that. And then we'll go back and rewatch that same section with the audio. You'll hear the voice acting, you'll hear the music. So just give me a moment. Share my screen, share computer sound, optimize screen sharing for video clip. All right. So can you boys see what I see?
Yes, we do.
All right,
Yes.
Here we go. So we are going to pick up, this is, and in case you were wondering at home, this is an upload from a channel called Squalvernoa 89. And this was a video that was uploaded 14 years ago, which is incredible that these people have archived these video clips for posterity, because the classic game, Metal Gear Solid is within like my Mount Rushmore of best games of all time.
And I will say, for Hideo Kojima, for those that don't know, he was the creator of Metal Gear Solid and the series basically itself. His games are very well known for having fantastically well-written storylines, to the point of almost being like cinematic in quality.
They
really
are like
mature narratives.
interactive movies. Yeah. So, all right.
Let's see.
Without further ado, here is the death scene. Oh, let's make sure we mute it. Here we go. All right. The death of Sniper Wolf. All right, so that was the scene in of itself, just, with the words. So now let's rewind, bring it back a bit, back
And
to
while
the...
you're doing that, I'll just kind of go over for those that are trying to keep track at home. So obviously Sniper Wolf was the one injured on the ground. The person in the white lab coat who brought her gun over to her was Otacon. And of course the player's character, Solid Snake, is the one in the gray jumpsuit and headband. Pulling off the Kurt Russell look, or I should say the reverse Kurt Russell look.
Yep. There's, in fact, I think Hideo Kojima has been on record with saying that Escape from New York is his favorite movie of all time, and that's the character that is inspired Solid Snake. So,
all right.
Yeah. All right. So here we go. Here is the scene with audio.
Why? Why? I loved you.
What is it?
My gun. Give it to me. She's part of me. Everyone's here now. Okay, hero. Set me free.
Goodbye. love could bloom on the battlefield. But I couldn't save her. What are you doing?
Returning it to its owner. I don't need a handkerchief.
Why?
I don't have any more tears to shed.
All right. Here we go. I'll stop sharing my screen now. Chills every time. This game is like well over 20 years old. Chills every time. Every time.
Especially with the music literally coming to a complete stop on the gunshot.
Yeah.
I thought was a really nice touch. I've never seen that scene, and I know games from this particular time period are notorious for lousy voice acting and cheesy screenplay because games had just not developed the technology to be able to do so in a sophisticated manner yet. So it's really, really humbling to see how much of an exception this is to like that old trope of like games having like really corny dialogue and cutscenes. It was very, very powerful. Now, of course, the graphics, what you see is archaic by today's standards. But
yeah, there's
for the late 90s, that was watching those cutscenes on your TV at home was like watching a full-length feature film. It really had the same effect on a lot of young minds. So very, very powerful scene. I'm glad you decided to share this one, Joe. I really, really enjoyed it.
Yeah,
I thought the music was a great compliment to it. And one of the things I really liked, and this is not even on the music end, on a sound design, you can hear the echo of the open area. And that's really, really powerful sounding because it kind of lends something to the solemnity of the moment in that like there's no other activity going on besides.
And how isolated the characters are from anything else to really drive that home. Yeah, very, very powerful scene.
Great choice, Joe.
Top that, gamers.
All right, well, we got 2 more chances to top that, and I'm slightly biased towards mine. So, Danton, why don't you go?